Good morning, everyone. You can see we have a few attendees at the moment, so if anybody would like to just pop up in chat just to let me know that they can see the screen, which should be a presentation currently, that'd be great. I'll give it a couple of minutes. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get underway. This is being recorded, so anybody who misses it will be able to watch it at a later date. And I'm just going to go ahead. So today we're going to be talking about what's called alternative digital careers. Alternative digital careers is what you might suspect. It's careers that fall out of the norms of digital careers in general. So what I mean by that is, typically people go to school, college, university, and they'll do very traditional, software development, app development, things like that. And that's not what we're here for today. Today, what we're here for is what a lot of people find or see as hobbies, or not a real job in some ways. It's quite stigmatized, however, it is perfectly viable. And that is all around the realms of influencers. So YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and the likes as well. These are all perfectly valid jobs in this day and age, and today we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail and explore how you can actually set up things like that if that's what you want to do. Just in sort of very light touch, nothing too heavy or technical today. So first off, what is an alternative digital career? You might have heard the term influencer thrown around quite a lot. So an influencer is, as you can imagine, somebody who sits on social media, a social media platform, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. There's hundreds and hundreds of other smaller ones as well, but they're sort of the main ones. As you can see here, just some of the logos, you'll recognize all of these logos straight off the bat. The ones that we're predominantly when you think of sort of alternative creators is YouTube and Twitch. So you have your live streamers and you have your YouTube content creators, but people can make just as good a living on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, which is why their logos are there as well. They have what's called a creator fund, so you can make money from those platforms. So that's why they're on there, and it's a very, very viable way to make money. So first of all, we're going to whistle stop tour through these things because I would like to get straight on actually showcasing some of the software that's used, just so you can get a heads up as to how you actually go about setting up, doing a recording session or a live stream, etc. So big difference is, what's the differences between recorded versus live? So they're not the same thing. So first of all, recorded, that is your more traditional YouTube videos. So they are typically purely spoken to yourself, in the sense of you don't have a live audience. They can be very, very scripted. So you can actually write out a script of what you plan on saying and then deviate from that script as and when things happen within the content that you're creating, or as you think of things on the fly. Or you can do it completely unscripted if you prefer to work in an unscripted fashion. They can be heavily edited, these videos, so because they're content that's going out after they've been recorded, you can then take that recording and edit it, remove out any mistakes, add in anything that you want to add in, whether it's effects or cut in other video clips or anything like that. You have all that advantage of being able to do that because the video will not be seen by anybody until you're happy to put it out into the world. And engagements, however, are all after the fact, so you can't speak to your audience live. You can't speak to people who like to utilize, who like to sort of engage with you live, because they can't see what you're doing until after you've already done it and until after you've already edited and put it online. Now, with live streaming, it's very, very different in a lot of ways. It's still video content, but it's to a live audience. So people can drop into, very much like what we're doing now with Teams or with Zoom or you know, or FaceTime, anything like that, Snapchat Live, TikTok Lives, etc. They're all live platforms where people can drop in and talk to you there and then. However, it tends to be largely unscripted. You can't really script something that's live because, especially when you have audience engagement, the audience could ask a question or they could make a comment or they could react in a certain way. Which makes it very, very difficult to script because you have to then react to what they're doing as well. Biggest thing with any live platform is that mistakes cannot be edited out. Whether you say something wrong in the sense of fumble, or you say something that later on you regret saying, unfortunately, does happen. You know, these things can't be edited out. Likewise, things can't be edited in, so you can't overlay clips, you can't overlay special effects or sound effects or anything like that. None of that is available to you, unfortunately, whilst you are live streaming. And like I said, engagements are live. You have an audience sitting there, whether it's one person, 2 people, 4 people, 100 or 1,000 or whatever. You know, these people are there watching you at the same time as you're live streaming. You know, there's no delay. There's very little delay. You know, maybe a 1 or 2 second delay, depending on the platform that you use. So it is as live as it can possibly be, which means that you have to be able to very, very comfortably speak in front of a crowd, whether it's into a camera like we are doing now, or whether it's on stage in front of an audience. It's very, very similar. And in some regards, it's harder to do it in front of a camera because you're talking to a piece of equipment. You're not talking to a person. And it can become quite difficult to make eye contact with the camera or continue to engage with an audience that maybe isn't engaging with you. You don't have that eye contact, so it's hard to gauge whether somebody's listening or not, other than getting a viewer count, which is a little number that tells you how many people are watching you. So, like I said, we're going to move on very, very quickly to how to get started in something like this. Okay, so first things first that you've got to really, really think of, if this is something that interests you, and for anybody who's watching live as well, there is a meeting chat which you should be able to communicate in. So feel free to ask any questions or anything else like that as we go. We've only got Q&A rather than chat, but I can see the screen fine. Okay. So anything that appears in the Q&A as well, I can see that and I can publish it so that it gets put out there. So what I'll do is I'll leave the Q&A up for now if people can't access the chat, and then that way I can still speak to you. So that's just, again, one of the things that happens during a live stream. So as I was saying, how to get started with something like this. The first thing that you need to do is you need to think about what type of content you want to make. It will greatly influence which platform that you decide to use. So for instance, if you're just wanting to use very, very short form videos, just make very quick skits or very quick informational videos or something like that, platforms such as TikTok might be really, really good to use. And that's because TikTok is a short form video platform. It also has live capabilities as well, so you can mix and match the two. But it means that you can just make very, very snappy videos and just put them out there to the world very, very quickly. However, if you want to make much more longer content, so for anybody who, you do reviews of products, regardless of what type of product it is, or you do videos of gameplay where you're commentating over the gameplay, or maybe not commentating over the gameplay, depending on what you want to do. Platforms such as YouTube, if it's post content, so something that you record and then put out into the world, YouTube's the main platform for that. There really is no other major alternative. On the flip side, if you're wanting to be able to engage with your audiences and generate content for long periods of time, so a few hours at a time or more, then live streaming would probably be the better platform. And in that regards, you can then decide to either go to use YouTube, which also has a live function where you can live stream for hours on end, or go to a platform like Twitch, which is predominantly a gaming platform. However, it does have non-gaming elements, so it has specific sections just for chatting. It has specific sections for doing arts and crafts, as well as alternative things as well. So all of them are available to you on those two platforms. But again, they're really the only two major platforms that are out there for live streaming now. You did have platforms such as Mixer, which was owned by Microsoft, but they've just shut that down, unfortunately, as of last year. So sort of the next thing that you want to think about is make sure that you have the equipment to create the content. There's lots of different options out there. For platforms such as TikTok, having a smartphone is all that you need. You don't need anything other than just a smartphone. TikTok is predominantly an app-based platform. It does have a web browser, but it's an app. So you go on and you record using the cameras, and then you can apply all your filters and your hashtags, and basically from point A to point B when you upload is all done through your phone. There's no need to go in and edit anything using editing software such as Premiere Pro or Sony Vegas or anything like that. However, if you're wanting to record sort of the gameplay style videos, or if you want to record long form reviews, then that's when you will probably start looking at having high quality webcams or high quality camcorders or DSLR cameras which can record footage. That then adds a lot more to the process, because first you have to record, you have to make sure that the video and the sound and everything sounds fine, then you have to usually put that into video editing software, and then you have to might have to do a bit of editing, tweaking the light, tweaking the audio, etc., and then put it out into the world, and typically you'll upload that to YouTube. So that you've got to think if you are capable of doing something like that. Now, you don't need the best equipment in the world. I'm not saying you have to go out there and spend thousands just to be able to do this. There's no reason why you can't do it on a budget. And again, even with YouTube, if you're wanting to record things using your phone, most smartphones these days, their cameras are so good in recording 1080p or 4K footage now at high frame rates as well. So the footage looks just as good coming from a phone as it would from a high quality camera. However, there's just a couple of additional little steps if you're trying to transfer footage from your phone over to the computer to then edit to upload. So it's just to be sort of really, really aware of that. Okay, but again, it's nothing that you need to worry about in terms of I need to have an expensive computer or I need to have an expensive phone to be able to do it. These things can be done on a shoestring if needs be. That's absolutely fine. ID Academy have just joined. Thank you very much for dropping along today. Tech issues are abound, so don't worry about it. We had a little bit of a technical hitch getting the screen share to work, so I wouldn't worry about that. But thank you for coming along. And finally, so I've just been discussing about how to get started with alternative careers. So we've talked about thinking about the content that you want. as well as the equipment. Make sure that you've got the right equipment to do the job. And then finally, building your brand and getting involved with the communities you want to have an audience with. So if you want to become, I don't know, big on YouTube, to be a big makeup influencer, or a big tech review influencer where you review lots of different types of technology, or you want to do gameplay footage and you want to become a gameplay influencer, you have to, it's all well and good just creating content and generating content and putting it out there onto the platform that you've chose, but then you have to engage with those audiences, and engage with people who make that content as well. So for instance, Twitch, you know, a lot of small Twitch streamers will speak to each other to help, you know, so if they've got a group of people who watch them and you've got a group of people who watch them, and then you start speaking to each other, you're more likely to push your audience to them, and they're going to push their audience to you, thus hopefully growing your audience and cross-pollinating and getting bigger and bigger that way. So it's a lot of what you would call networking, speaking to other people. It's a full-time job in of itself. It takes a lot of hours and a lot of time and effort to build relationships with people. Not everybody does this, and that's why some people find that when they first start out, they might get a small boom of people where they go from 0 subscribers on YouTube or Twitch or whatever to, you know, 20, 30, 40 quite quickly, but then it'll flatten out, and then people get very disheartened and decide that you know, it's a lot of effort and they're not getting any reward out of it. But that is the way of things. Anything tech related, and especially anything influencer related, social media, etc. It's a lot of hard work, and it's about building those relationships and speaking to people. And that doesn't just mean trying to get close and butter up the larger content creators, the ones who have already got an audience, who are already like internet famous or real life famous, depending on the size of them. Because that in of itself doesn't really work either. You need to focus on speaking to people who are in the same sort of scale as you. So small streamers talking to smaller streamers. So you go from you talk to people who've got 100 to 200 followers when you've got around that level, and then you keep getting bigger and bigger, and you grow up that way. It's sort of is the way forward, and that in of itself is a full-time job on top of also trying to create this content in the first place. So for people who say that, you know, YouTubers and Twitch streamers, they've got it easy, you know, it's not a real job, it's not a 9 to 5, they're not having to go to an office. Well, they just do it from home, and obviously this past year and a bit has proven that everybody has to be able to learn to work from home, and it's a lot harder because you can get distracted a lot easier when you're at home. They work 40, you know, they can work easily 40, 50, 60 hours in a week, you know, which is more than a lot of people do when they've just got a 9 to 5 job, a standard job, as you might call it. So it's something to remember that this is not just a hobby. For some people, they take it as a hobby, but for a lot of people, they put as many hours in as they would with a full-time job. And that's why it's important to stop with the stigma about saying that this is not a viable option. This is something that you can't do for a living. Not everybody will be able to, but for some people, they will be able to if they have the passion. So just been talking about equipment there and saying that you don't need everything in the world. There is some things that you will need to get familiar with, particularly on the software side, to be able to create good quality content. Same with the hardware, has to be at least somewhere within the realms of decent. So for the hardware, most YouTubers, Twitch streamers, even people who use Instagram or TikTok on their computer, they'll be utilizing a decent quality webcam. So the images actually that we have there of the webcam is the webcam that I'm using today. It is a full HD 1080p webcam. It's a Logitech webcam. It's the standard. You will see most people starting out live streaming or doing YouTube content will utilize this webcam. It's fairly low cost for fairly high quality, with a little bit of help with good quality lighting and etc. And then the microphone sat next to it is called a Blue Yeti, which again most people utilize, either the Blue Yeti or a Blue Snowball. Again, the Snowball is what I'm using today, so it's just off camera. You can just see it here. If anybody can see my webcam feed. If you can't, then I do have a microphone on a little arm just off camera. And again, it's just to create at least a baseline minimum of what you would class as good content. neither of which would break the bank. They're both sort of, the sub 100, about £50 range, and they go on sale quite frequently on Amazon. So you can usually get them for quite cheap. If you just sit there and wait, and are quite lucky to do so. Again, though, if you're utilizing a mobile, the cameras on phones are really, really good now, as well as also the microphones are usually pretty good. Or you can buy microphones to plug into the phones, or you can use wireless earbuds, so AirPods if it's an Apple phone. They've got really, really good microphones, or any other sort of wireless Bluetooth headset has usually got pretty good dedicated microphones now as well. Software wise, these two logos you'll probably get very, very used to seeing if you do anything to do with recording content directly from a computer. So the first one, which is this black circle logo, is software called OBS, which I will be showing today. OBS stands for Open Broadcast Software, and what that allows you to do is it allows you to either record footage or live stream footage. It does both things inside of it, so it's a one-stop shop for all of your software needs in terms of recording or live streaming, so you're outputting. Very, very sort of straightforward and simple to use in comparison to a lot of things, but I'll be going over some of the sort of very basics in a moment with that. The one that's next to it, the slightly more sort of cooler looking logo, is called Streamlabs. Now Streamlabs has its own software, the same as OBS, called Streamlabs OBS. It's their variant. A lot of people use that if they have very, very high-end powerful computers, because it requires quite a lot to use resources. But Streamlabs is also a website which has a lot of tools, a lot of things that you can add into your recordings or your live streams to really, really up the quality. So things that can allow audiences to engage with you better, things that you can put on the screen whilst you are live so that people can see things that they wouldn't normally see. So bars and information that can appear on the screen, etc. Things that, make emotes fall in rainfall across the screen when somebody does an emote, things like that. There's lots and lots of things that can be done using Streamlabs, and it is the primary tool for live streamers. But again, some of the content that they create is perfectly usable in recording format as well, which is what I'll go over in a little bit more detail as we get onto OBS. But again, both these softwares, by the way, are completely free. OBS is completely free. Streamlabs is free, but it does have a premium option, which just unlocks a lot more extra tools that you otherwise wouldn't have. And it's a $9.99 subscription model for that. And we'll leave that there for now. I am not done. However, I'm going to stop sharing my screen quickly, and I'm going to open up OBS. It does steal my webcam, so I do need it. That's why I didn't have it open straight away. So if you'd just like to give me 1 minute to open it up. If anybody has any questions whilst I'm doing that, feel free to ask. And whilst I'm on OBS, if you have any questions about what you can see on screen, again, feel free to ask, and I'll stop and I'll answer any questions. The more questions that are asked by people who are watching, the more you'll get out of it, because there might be something I'll miss off if you don't ask the question, because there's quite a lot of detail to go into today. Okay, I'm just going to quickly stop sharing my screen. Right, so hopefully everybody can see that, and you'll be able to see me on screen in the bottom, so hello. It might be a bit of a syncing issue, but bear with. So what this screen is, this is OBS, and I will sort of first and foremost apologize if OBS runs slowly. The laptop is having to not only stream Teams, but it's also got OBS open now. It's quite a lot for the laptop that I'm running on to do at the same time. However, we'll fight through. So what OBS has got to show us here, so we have a main screen. This main screen basically shows you anything that will be visible on screen when I am live streaming or recording any content. Down the left hand side here we have stream information, Twitch activity feeds. So this basically is just information for me as a streamer, so I can update any information, so the title of my stream, notification to let people know what happens when I go live, you know, what game's being played, what stream language is being used, etc. There's quite a lot of information you can add there, and that's all just for people who are wanting to become a part of your audience. They can find out what you're doing before they actually click on your link or click on your stream. So there's also a Twitch activity feed. This basically tells you what is happening within Twitch at the time. So somebody followed 2 days ago, somebody used a sound alert, somebody used another sound alert, somebody followed, you know, so it basically gives you a feed of everything that's going on at the time, which is very, very useful if you are playing a game, for instance, on Twitch, and you know you're very, very deep into the game. It's an action game, you've got to focus, you might not notice what's going on screen at any one time, but it's you can refer back to this activity feed and then play catch up when you get a moment to speak to your audience again. That's very, very sort of prevalent within games where, you know, things like Fortnite or Apex Legends or any game where effectively there's a burst of activity and you can't actually focus on anything other than just the game for a set period of time. And then on the right hand side here we have the chat. So again, as I was saying, if you're live streaming, it's live to an audience, so people will be speaking to you. The chat will appear as sort of with as little delay as possible on this side, which means that I can then engage with the audience whilst still being able to play and interact. It's just a quick glance over, have a look to see if anybody said anything, and then move on from there. Very, very useful features all within OBS. So everything is built into this piece of software. You don't need to have anything else open to be able to do this. Now, running along the bottom here, we have something called scenes, sources, and the audio mixer and scene transitions, as well as controls in the very, very far corner. So the first thing is the scenes. So all of the scenes, when you click through the scenes, it will transition like a PowerPoint. It'll have some sort of transition. And at the moment, it's sat on the main gameplay, which is a blank screen because there's nothing open. There's no game open. With a little webcam feed, the little cauldron, which is that way for me, a little follow account at the bottom there, and the cat, which is over that side. So the cat dances and it says hello to people, and it announces when anything happens. It's just something cool and interactive to look at whilst you're live streaming. The cauldron also will drop stuff in to itself. When somebody donates anything, it'll fall into the cauldron. And then the follow account updates when somebody follows, and you know, it's a current goal set there. So that's what's available on the screen at the moment. That is shown in the sources section. So the sources here is everything that you can see on screen right now. Some things, as you can see, there's a lot of extra things, and as I hover over them, you'll see a little blue box appear. The little blue box basically shows you where it is on the screen. So some of these things are invisible because they are just sounds, or they only appear when certain things happen, so they're not always on screen. So the stickers only appear every now and again. The sound alerts will only appear when somebody uses a sound alert. Alerts will only appear when somebody does something that requires an alert to happen. The microphone is invisible because it's just a microphone. So not everything that's on here is seen. However, if I click on plus to add something, you can see that you can actually add quite a lot of things. And I'm just going to play catch up with. In fact, it's not even showing on there. Yeah, so it's not actually showing the menu. I've just looked over at Teams. Doesn't show you the menu, but when I click the little plus, it actually does have a drop-down menu. which is audio inputs and outputs. You can bring things in from the internet, which is what the cat is. It's a little browser. You can capture displays, so just monitors. You can capture games directly, so if you open up a game on the laptop, for instance, it will just capture the game and not the actual monitor itself. Very useful, so that if you accidentally click out of the game, it'll not show your desktop. Images, you can have slideshows, you can put media sources, so that's videos and music, and then you can also put video capture, which is things like webcams, or capture cards. So if you can plug in a console to a capture card and then into a laptop to capture gameplay off that. That's another thing that you can also do. Honestly, the more you dig down into it, there's more and more things that you can do. But like I said today, I just want to keep it as simple as it possibly can be. The audio mixer, as you can see currently, the microphone keeps twitching up and down on here because I am speaking into the microphone and it's picking it up. You can add things to the audio to stop it from getting too loud so that it booms or pops. You can set it so that it changes the way that your voice sounds if you want to. So at a touch of a button, you can make it sound spooky or sound like you're underwater, sound like you're in space, if you set it up to do so. The scene transitions, now this is much more like on Microsoft PowerPoint. So when you transition from one slide to the other, it's how it goes from point A to point B. So instead of it just being a very, very quick snap of the finger and it goes from one to the other, it can actually transition and do something cool, which I'll be able to show you in a second by clicking from one scene to another. And then finally, in controls, we have start streaming. So if I want to go live on Twitch, I click that, it will connect to the Twitch account and it will set me live. Start recording, so instead of going live on Twitch, I'll be able to record the footage and it will save it as a video, which I can edit and do whatever I need to do with it, and then put that on YouTube or wherever else I might want to put it. Start virtual camera. So if I have my webcam open on OBS like I do now, if I want it to then also be open on Teams, I will have to start this virtual camera, which basically means it tricks Teams into thinking that there's another camera feed whilst using only one webcam. And then finally, studio mode and settings. Studio mode allows you a lot more sort of access to a lot more options, something that I don't particularly use and most people don't tend to use unless you've got lots of monitors to be able to have lots of information on different screens. Settings, as the name implies, it allows you to go in and change all of your settings, which is something that can take an entire hour or two to talk about in of itself. So I'll avoid that for today. So as I mentioned before, we've got these things called transitions, which if I transition from one screen to another, it will do something to the screen. So it's not just, it doesn't look boring or bland. Now I'm going to click from main gameplay to just chatting, and you'll hopefully you will see what I mean so long as OBS plays it out, because sometimes it will not play it when I'm just in preview mode. So I'll click that now. And as you can see there, I've clicked on it, it transitioned, it did a cool effect, and now we're on a completely different screen with a bigger webcam, with a chat box to that side of me, which will have chat appear. So I can actually show that now by saying hello in here, and then if I enter that, it'll pop up on the screen and say hello. So you can actually see the chat when you're just talking there. As again, you can see the cats dancing in the bottom. So there's a lot going on. As you can see, we have an animated background. There's, you know, all of this again falls into your sources. So the background is actually a video that's on loop. So that is a video source. And then again, we have the microphone feed. We have the follow goal, which is just that little box at the bottom down there. And then we have the cat as well, which is down there dancing away. All of these things are to sort of gauge increase interactivity, make it look really nice, gauge everybody. You know, if somebody sees something that looks all customized and looks really nice to look at, people are much more likely to engage with it and go, "Oh, I really like the look of that. I want to have a click on it." You know, this person looks like they're really putting time and effort into something. This was all custom made by myself. Thankfully, I do have a bit of a graphic design background, so I can do these things. However, if you don't, hopefully you've got a friend who can do it. And if you don't have a friend who can do it, best thing to do is either find templates online which are free to download and use. There's loads of websites which do stuff like this now, and it's usually just an image that you'll drag and drop into your screen. Failing that, the alternative being is that you learn how to do it. So you use an online website called Canva, and you can make a lot of this in Canva very, very easily, and it's just drag and drop. You don't need to be a super artist to be able to do this. Or if you've got access to Photoshop, and if you are a bit of an artist, then sit on Photoshop and learn how to do this sort of thing as well. What I'll do is I'll leave the screen up because the webcams are much bigger, so it's easier to see. But yeah, so that's sort of OBS in a little bit of a nutshell there. You've seen the transitions, you've seen the scenes and the sources. If I was to add a new source, I could bring something else in if I wanted to. I believe what I can do is I can test some things out just so you can see what happens when an alert appears, or you know, when somebody uses a lot of emotes or emojis, it'll rain down on the screen. These are all things, again, to get the audience to really, really speak to you and to get involved with you. So I believe, yep, just double check I've got alerts on here. So if I test a follow, it should appear on the screen at some point. There we go. As you probably just saw there, spooky vibes appeared on the screen saying such and such has just followed, etc. That's all done through Streamlabs, which I mentioned, which is a website. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to Streamlabs now just to give you a quick overview of that as well. And like I said, this is really, really good for streaming, but it's also really, really good for recording videos as well. If you're wanting to add in a lot of like special little effects and stuff like that without having to know how to do all of the special effects stuff in editing, because that is a big, big skill to learn. So I'm just going to stop sharing screen once more, and then we'll move over to Streamlabs just so you can have a look at Streamlabs as well. Right, so hopefully everybody is back again and we can see that Streamlabs is now open. So when I just tested what you hopefully saw on the screen, which was the follow, it was just by pressing this button, so it just does a test. It wasn't somebody actually following. However, what you can do is this for instance allows me to set up, so for follows I can have it say a message, I can have an image appear, I can have a sound happen when it happens, how loud is this sound, how long does it stay on the screen for, and sort of what format does it sit in. Again, this is all stuff that you don't need to understand any high-level technical ability. It's just click which ones you like, click which effects you like, type in what you want it to do, and off you go. Hopefully sort of considered fairly straightforward. We've also got the same thing for subscriptions, donations, hosts. They all do the same thing. It's just specific to that thing. So this effect, for instance, that's here, which is the two witches doing the spooky hands, that'll only appear if somebody follows. It won't appear for anything else. So it's very, very specific. So that is for the alert box, which is basically alerts a streamer to everything that's going on. As you can see, Streamlabs has got so much stuff. Alert boxes, chat box, which basically shows the chat on the screen rather than just in the chat box that you can see. An event list, so that tells, basically it's like a list that appears and it tells you everything that has happened during the stream. So if anybody's followed or donated any money or subscribed to you or anything like that. You can set goals which appear on the screen. You can do the emote wall, which is where emotes will rain down all over the screen, and it's really fun. And again, it's something that viewers like to see when they are coming to view and watch your content. A view account, again, this is more for live streaming, but it can be used offline. Just to, not so much the view account, but the emote wall can be done because you can do that yourself. Tip jars and sponsor banners, as you can see, absolutely loads of stuff. So if you're sponsored by any businesses, you can put their logos on and it will just sort of rotate and appear on the screen and show off that you're sponsored by them. It's really, really good, and typically businesses will ask you to do that. So even if you want to do anything professional, you've got the ability to do that. Down this left hand side is absolutely everything. Anything that's got the little yellow star thing is prime, so it's like the premium paid for option. Now you've got access for it. So most of the alert box themes and the stream overlays, you'll have to pay for in some way, shape or form, but it's all there, it's all in one place. So as you go from starting out and obviously not wanting to spend any money or spending very little money, to then once you've established yourself and you might have a bit of a revenue stream, you're making a bit of money, then you might want to start paying for some of these things and being able to then improve your content even more. This also has things like analytics, so it tells you everything that's gone on in previous streams. Did you get any followers? Did you get any subscriptions? Have you made any money today? Etc. etc. So this has a lot of tools for you there. I'm just going to see if I can get my Teams to open up in full screen for me because I can't see anything. It's because I want to make sure that I still have Q&A open. There we go. So yeah, so as you can see, there's lots and lots of tools available to you, and nearly all of them are free. And that's the best thing. A lot of people think that to be able to do these things, you need to have a lot of money or you need to buy a lot of high-end fancy equipment, and you really don't. Is there an easy... Oh, I've got one here. Yep. Sorry, so I've just seen this one here. Is there an easy free editing software you would recommend? So most people, if they're doing any editing, typically most people would go for Premiere Pro or Sony Vegas, but you've got to pay for them. However, a great alternative for video editing is a software called HitFilm Express. Very, very similar in the way that it looks to Premiere Pro and to Sony Vegas, but it's completely free. And it's still a very, very powerful piece of software. Can do, for basic editing, it can do everything that the other two paid for versions can. So I would definitely recommend that. So hopefully that's sort of useful for you. But yeah, so again, as I was just mentioning before I answered that question, everything is available for free in some way, shape or form. Even making thumbnails for YouTube videos, you can do that on Canva, which I have here, which will let it open up. And Canva is completely free to use as well, and you don't need to be an expert designer to use this because Canva utilizes templates. So if I go to recommended for you, design anything you want, that it says at the top of the list here, design anything. You can create presentations, Instagram posts, documents, videos. They do up to 2-minute long videos on Canva as well now. Logos, Instagram stories, absolutely loads. Facebook posts, posters, all of this can be used to help you create content, and for free as well. Again, Canva has a paid for pro version, which is completely up to you whether you want to do that or not, but it's there for free for when you're starting out. And I would completely recommend using Canva over using something like Photoshop. Photoshop's very, very good if you want to do a lot of heavy editing, but it's a skill that has a very, very high learning curve, whereas Canva, anybody can drop on a Canva and learn how to use it fairly quickly. So and then finally, what I'll do is I'm going to cover off Twitch in the background, because Twitch is a platform that I'm most familiar with. So when you're a creator on Twitch, you have a creator dashboard, and this basically gives you analytics. And this is so important to start learning how to do. Everybody who wants to create content online needs to learn how to read the numbers, which might not always sound fun, but it's so important. So for instance, on the channel here that I've got logged into at the moment, average viewers, it tells you what your average viewership is, how many follows you've had over the last 20-30 days, how many subscriptions you've had over the last 30 days, how much revenue you've made, and how many hours you've spent streaming. And then it gives you a breakdown here as well of where all the money's coming from, where are most people coming from. So most people that watch are directly from followers, from other channels, people who have actually found you by browsing, which categories do viewers like to watch, top clips, so you can clip like little 30-second snippets. If something funny happens or something dramatic happens, you can clip it, and then that can also draw more people to your channel, as well as also giving you sort of a breakdown of engagement as well. So when posted out that you're going live, how many people actually engage with that. So this is something that you need to get your head around, and it breaks it down over a 30-day period as well, so you can click to previous months and see what was going on in previous months against what's going on in current months. You can then look at the last time you were live directly and break down everything that way as well. So looking at how long did you stream for last time, what was your average viewers, max, unique viewers, did you get any new followers, did you get any new subscriptions, things like that. So it gives you a lot of sort of breakdown in regards to that as well. So you again tells you how well did your engagement do in terms of when you shouted out that you were going live. And then you've also got achievements as well. So this is a path to partner at the moment, and it's basically a breakdown of what you need to do in order to get to the next level within sort of Twitch, for instance, which can be found here, which is in achievements. There's not just this achievement, there's also all of these, which are just fun little things to do just to keep you sort of, I'm not far off getting 10 people to talk. I need one extra person, to be able to get this badge. And it's that sort of mentality of being able to collect things. It's very, very important to a lot of people. It's milestones, shows you how well you're doing, and it's very, very sort of useful in that regard. Down the left on here, we have everything on the creator dashboard. So you can have a look at your community, so who's following you, the activity, so who's followed you, who's unfollowed you, who's subscribed to you, whatever. Roles, so that's making people moderators so that they can have more access to your channel, making people editors so they have access to edit things within your channel. Content, so it has got a video producer, and that's for your clips, so you can edit things and make things look really, really cool, and you can stitch things together, and you can use it for promotional, put on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or any platform that you use to promote yourself. So you got your collections and your clips there as well, as I just mentioned. Viewer rewards is sort of another big one. So when somebody's watching you, they collect points just for watching, or for following, or for subscribing, or for donating. They'll collect points, and those points can then be redeemed to do certain things within the stream. So whether it's have a sound effect happen, or have something appear on screen on the screen, or request that the person, the streamer or the YouTuber or whatever, does something, or make them wear a funny hat, make them do a daft dance, whatever it might be. And again, it's about engagement. The more you put in for your viewers to do, the more likely they're going to hang around and watch your content for longer, which is the aim of the game. You can have customized emotes. You start out with 3, but then as you get more subscribers, you unlock more, and these are custom to you. Nobody else should have these because you've created them, and it personalizes your content even further. And then finally, drops. Drops is basically where you can give and gift your followers special codes to access extra content in various different games. As you can see there's a big long list of things that you can give away for free, which Twitch provide in this instance. And then you've got things like streaming tools and extensions. Extensions are just more ways of being able to engage with your audiences. So sound alerts, so that means that people can make loud buzzer noises and other obnoxious things happen whilst you're live streaming, doing whatever. Stickers, that means people can make stickers appear on the screen as well, and they'll just stick around for a bit and then they'll peel off. And then closed captions, so closed captions being for people who hard of hearing or deaf, or are watching your content whilst on mute, but they still want to hear they still want to be able to read what you're saying. So it's subtitles effectively. It's all around being able to make your stream as engaging and accessible as possible. Is the biggest thing for whether it is live streaming content or whether it is pre-recorded YouTube content, for instance. You need to make it as accessible as possible, which is why subtitles and closed captions are super important. But I'm aware of the time. It's coming up to past now. If anybody's got any questions for me, feel free to ask. This has just been designed to be very sort of high level and just really to help everybody understand that this is something that they can do. There is no way that you cannot do this if this is something you want to do. So please don't feel disheartened or think I need to be the next super YouTuber with 20 million subscribers. You might get there eventually, but don't feel pressured into being that straight away. Do it because you enjoy what you're doing. Do it because it's something that you're passionate about and because it's something that you would like to do, either as a hobby or take it as a career, which is what we're talking about today. I've blown over the tools very, very quickly. Hopefully this is sort of being useful to people who are watching and to people who will watch the recording put past this. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask now. If you have any questions in the future, I'm going to pop up on the screen my contact details. And when this recording will be going up onto our YouTube channel as well, you can use the comment section there to ask questions as well. That's absolutely fine. So if you'd just like to give me 1 minute, I'm just going to put my details up for you. So hopefully it's inspired you to sort of to have a look and to have a think about stuff that you can do with this type of platform. You know, it's something that people have avoided for so long. Okay. We've got a question here. So you've mentioned quite a few programs. Which one would you recommend starting with? So for if you want to do live streaming or recording any content on the computer, I would start with using OBS. The reason being is that if you don't have a computer that's super powerful, OBS doesn't take up a lot of resources on the computer to be able to run properly. So you will be able to use it without worrying it's going to crash or it's going to have any issues. It's just download, install, and turn on. And then if you want to record gameplay footage, make sure that you have the gameplay footage selected, or just have the screen that you want to record selected before you start recording. It's fairly straightforward to use, and like I said, it's very not very resource intensive. Sorry. So unlike other things like Streamlabs, OBS, or using recording tools such as Fraps or XSplit or any of these other higher end ones, they're quite resource intensive. So you'd need to have quite a decent system to be able to run them without causing any slowdown of the game or slowdown of the footage or whatever it is you're recording. So hopefully that's been helpful. But yep, if anybody else has any last minute questions, feel free to ask. If not, my contact details are on the screen right now. robert.curry@sunderlandsoftwarecity.com is my email. Feel free to send any emails to me directly if you've got any questions about this or want to go into more detail. I'm also available on Twitter, as you can see there, my Twitter handle. And like I said, this will be going on to YouTube as well in the near future. So the comment section will be open for that, for questions moving on from there. So feel free to ask if that's where you want to ask as well. But other than that, hopefully it's been really useful. I've enjoyed discussing about alternative careers because I know that's something that people still don't talk about a lot. And if anybody would like to have any follow-up conversations, get in touch. Other than that, thank you very much, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later.